Dignāga Semantics of Non-Exclusion and Inclusion. Kei Kataoka. 1. Introduction. This paper examines the following statement by Dignāga. PSV 5.4a, NaHy aceti victors mdikarayapva. When there is no vipti, pervasion and inclusion, there is no co-referentiality.
As the direct translation shows, Dignāga states here that when there is no vyapti, there is no co-referentiality. This is a negative concomitance in the form absence of vyapti, absence of co-referentiality. Therefore, converting this to positive concomitants, we can infer that Dignāga believed that if there is vyapti, there is co-referentiality, vyapti co-referentiality. But why would co-referentiality be established when there is vyapti? And what does vyapti mean in this context?
2. Context. What Dignāga is addressing here is whether two-word expressions like the existent substance, sad dravium, or existent pot, sang gar, share the same referent. Dignāga also calls this a joint expression together with particular terms, PS 5.2 candelas, vedradhair ap the kruti. As suggested by the context of Kyapadya 3.14.8, which Dignāga quotes just before PS 5.3ab, a parallel problem to black sesame, katila, is being considered. Black refers to the quality of blackness, and sesame refers to the substance sesame. Black, blackness.
Sesame, sesame.
Therefore, the two words do not refer to the same thing but to different things, a quality and a substance. In that case, it should be a different case expression like the king's man, Arjanya Purua, specifically the blackness of sesame, Tilasya Ka, rather than the same case expression, black sesame, Castila, which is the basis for the compound, black sesame, Katila. This is Barthari's argument. Similarly, in the case of existent substance, if existent refers to existence, it should be the existence of substance, Dravyasaya Sat. In criticizing the view that existent refers to the universal existence, Dignāga states, PSV 5.3 existence is not substance, but rather belongs to substance, Na Sat, Dravya, Bhavati, Kitahi Dravyasaya. That is, existence is not identical to substance but belongs to substance. Existent existence. Substance substance.
Here, in criticizing the universal theory that existent denotes existence, Dignāga points out that the universal theory cannot explain co-referentiality. Presented as another preliminary thesis to solve this problem is the universal possessor, Jatamat, theory in PSV 5.4a. And against this universal possessor theory, Dignāga points out that co-referentiality is not established because there is no vyapti. Below, we will trace Dignāga's thought process.
3. Other dependency and non-implication. According to the universal possessor theory, the word existent neither denotes all the individual entities, PSV 5.2ab, like existent thing, nor does it denote the universal, JTI, existent or the relation with the universal, Dignāga, PSV 5.2 CD3, but rather it denotes the generic universal possessor, Timantra, that which possesses existence in general. In response, Dignāga points out in PS 5.4a that due to non-independence, as for tantrava, i.e., other dependency, pratantria, a word cannot denote the generic universal possessor. According to the universal possessor theory, the word existent refers to that which exists through existence. That is, the word becomes dependent on the universal when denoting the universal possessor, so it is not independent, as for tantrava. In other words, the word does not function directly, skti, with respect to its own meaning. Existent existence. That which exists. Based on this other dependency, Dignāga derives the consequence of non-implication, ankipa, of pot. First, the word existent refers to that which exists, which possesses existence, through existence, 1, 2. Due to this other dependency, there is no implication, 2, 3, of pot, ankipa, which is a subcategory of that which exists. Therefore, the word existent does not have pot as its individual. Consequently, co-referentiality in existent pot, sangar, cannot be established. This is because that which has existence, which the word existent refers to, is not identical to pot. This is the content that can be directly inferred from Dignāga's description. Indirectly, Digna must have intended the following. Due to other dependency, the word existent only implies that which exists, 1, 2, and does not imply pot, 2, 3. In other words, existent only covers that which exists and does not include pot within its range. Existent 1 existence. Kepa 2 that which exists. Ankipa pot 3 pot. Digna cites the example that white does not imply sweetness, PSV 5.4a. That is, the word white refers to a substance qualified by whiteness, white thing, through whiteness, but it does not imply that which is sweet. This is because something can be a white without being sweet. Here too, we can see the structure that due to other dependency, it implies a white substance but does not imply that which is sweet. In other words, the word white does not encompass that which is sweet. White 1 whiteness. Kepa 2 white substance. Ankipa 3 sweet thing. Similarly, existent does not imply pot. This is because something can be existent but be cloth rather than pot. Therefore, since the word existent cannot cover pot, co-referentiality like that which exists equals pot cannot be established. This is also the case when considering the possibility of semantic implication, afkeeper. That is, the proposal that pot is semantically understood from that which exists, 2, 3. In response, Digna concludes that there is no semantic implication because it is not definitive, PSV 5.11c. It appears that Digna considers the range that the word existent definitely covers while depending on existence to be the domain of implication. The Vipti quoted at the beginning works in the same semantic domain, 1, 2, as Kepa. The word existent covers that which exists but does not cover pot. When emphasizing the indirectness of meaning where existent indirectly projects meaning by depending on the intermediary existence, the expression implication, Kepa, is used, and when positively highlighting the coverage range of the word, the expression inclusion, Vipti, pervading, is used. It is an expression that has in mind the range that the word reaches, according to the literal meaning of the verbal root a with macron p. From the above, we can infer a negative concomitance that Digna has in mind. If a word is other-dependent towards its own meaning, it does not include or imply pot, and a positive concomitance, if a word functions directly towards its own meaning, it includes or implies pot. As PS 5.36 shows, Digna's own theory, which should be called the exclusion possessor theory, is precisely that. Universal possessor, other dependency, non-inclusion, non-implication, absence of co-referentiality. Exclusion possessor, direct function, inclusion, implication, co-referentiality. For direct function and inclusion. Other exclusion, enipoha, that is, the exclusion of other meanings, arthentranivti, is non-existence, apva, and non-substance, PSV 5.36c, adravia, as is clear from its being paraphrased as the non-existence of other meanings, PSV 5.42, arthentapva. Therefore, other exclusion does not become an intermediary like the real universal existence. Consequently, unlike with universal possessors, a word does not become other-dependent on exclusion possessors. The word existent functions directly, 0, 1, on its own meaning, the general, that which exists, by excluding non-existence. Therefore, the fault of non-implication of particulars, pots, etc., due to other dependency, pratentrias varped kepadoa, does not occur, PSV 5.36c. Existent includes or implies pot. Existent 0 exclusion non-existent. 1 that which exists. Viptial kepa. Pot 2 pot. However, a question arises here. Why couldn't existent include or imply pot in the universal possessor theory, but can include or imply pot in the exclusion possessor theory? As we have seen, the word existent alone should not definitely imply pot. Nevertheless, Digna thinks that in his own theory, there is inclusion implication. What does this mean? To understand this, we need to understand the essence of Digna's apoha theory. 5. Weak relation and weak denotation. word tree denotes a tree. This is the denotation theory of realism, and it presupposes a relation between the word and its own meaning. While individuals are innumerable and thus cannot be related, universals, relations with universals, or universal possessors can be related to words due to the singularity of universals, Semantics or carrier. The relation spoken of here is literally connecting existing items with existing items. It is based on positive concomitance, anvaya, that the word tree applies to trees. Let's call this strong relation based on strong denotation. On the other hand, in the Apoha theory, we do not positively connect the word tree to trees in relation. Rather, the relation is based on negative concomitance, viati rika. If there is no tree, there is no application of the word's tree. Its own meaning tree is established as that which is not non-tree, as the remainder after excluding non-trees. That is, it does not actively become the word's own meaning, but what remains as that which is not non-tree after excluding non-trees becomes the word's own meaning. Let's call this weak denotation based on weak relation. Tree exclusion non-tree. Tree in general. It should be noted that the word's own meaning remains after exclusion, that is, the word's own meaning is not excluded. This non-exclusion, anapohana, apratikipa, is the essence of weak denotation. Dignāga states, there cannot be exclusion of its own meaning, svapratikipa, PSV 5.25 candelas. This is a statement in the context of discussing the meaning of synonyms. In the same context, he explicitly states that there is non-exclusion for higher-level word meanings and lower-level word meanings, PS 25 candelas, NA smnyapidapariavsianat. That is, the non-exclusion of the meaning of general terms, NA smnyabdanemart ham apahate, means that a particular term, bedasabda, such as cherry, does not exclude the meaning of a general term, smnyabda, like tree, nor that of an even higher-level general term such as earthly thing, priva. The non-exclusion of the meaning of particular terms, na badabdan art ham apahate, means that a general term like tree does not exclude the meanings of particular terms such as cherry or cedar, that is, cherry and cedar. However, when one hears tree, doubt, saya, arises as to whether it's a cherry or cedar, etc. So while there is no exclusion, definitive knowledge, niskaya, does not arise either. In other words, tree neither incorporates nopta, nor discards, nor cheetah, the individual cherry. Tree is neutral, uppercate, towards cherry and cedar, etc. PSV 5.25 candelas. As we have seen, as long as one follows the universal possessor theory, due to other dependency, the word existent cannot include or imply the individual pot. Similarly, the word blue cannot include or imply blue lotus, PSV 5.18a. However, a question may arise, doesn't the higher level, general, smnya, blue thing include, anta-square root bh, and the lower level, specific, via, blue lotus? Dignāga denies this due to the reason because there is doubt, PS 5.18b, sarit. This is the same argument as with existent pot. That is, just as existent does not definitely make one understand pot, so it does not imply pot, and as a result, there is no denotation, abhidna, of pot by existent, resulting in no co-referentiality with pot. Similarly, blue only refers to the general blue thing, and since blue lotus is not definitely understood from the general blue thing, denotation of blue lotus by blue is not established, resulting in no co-referentiality in blue lotus. Blue lotus is not included, anta-square root bh, in blue substance. Blue 1 blue. Kappa 2 blue substance. Ankippa. Lotus 3 blue lotus. On the other hand, Dignāga says that in the Apoha theory, this fault does not occur. As with existent pot, blue directly denotes its own meaning, blue substance, by excluding non-blue. And this general blue substance includes anta-square root bh, blue lotus. Dignāga cites non-exclusion, PS 5.18b, anapahant, as the basis for this inclusion, and tabva. This non-exclusion is the same as what we previously referred to as the non-exclusion of a word's own meaning and the non-exclusion of the meaning of a particular term. That is, blue lotus is included in blue substance because of blue does not exclude blue substance or blue lotus. As we can see from this, existent includes vipti, implies kepa, pot because the existent does not exclude anapohana, i.e., does not reject apratikipa, pot along with its own meaning with that which exists. As we have seen, this is only possible in the weak denotation theory based on weak relation. This is because in the weak relation denotation theory, non-exclusion is the essence of relation denotation. When one says blue, blue substance is directly understood by excluding non-blue, but this includes blue lotus as an implication. It is included and implied by the word because it is not excluded. Therefore, blue refers to blue lotus, and blue and lotus have the same referent. Blue zero exclusion non-blue. Non-exclusion. One blue substance. Inclusion. Lotus, two blue lotus. Dignāga's statement here is interesting.
Pesve 5,2 Yattarhida muktam antarphutve samanyam iti. Naita duktam apfithiatvat kitarhi anapohanat bes 5,2
Question, then, what does it mean when it is said, in Buddhist theory, that the general includes the specific? Answer, it does not mean that the specific is denoted abhidhatut, but rather that the specific is not excluded anapahant. Here, Dignāga uses because it is denoted abhidhatut to refer to what I call strong denotation, and in contrast, uses because it is not excluded anapahant to refer to what I call weak denotation. In the strong denotation theory, the inclusion antabva of the specific via blue lotus in the general sunya blue substance is not established because blue does not denote blue lotus. As we have seen, blue does not include or imply blue lotus. Therefore, it does not definitely make one understand it. This is because blue lacks a strong relation with blue lotus. Blue is related to blue substance, not to blue lotus. On the other hand, in the weak denotation theory, the word blue denoted what remains after excluding non-blue, namely that which is not non-blue. This includes not only the word's own meaning, blue substance, but also higher-level meanings such as color or quality, as well as lower-level meanings such as blue lotus or blue heron. In this sense, blue lotus is not strongly related, but weakly related, that is, not excluded. Therefore, inclusion implication is established. 6. Conclusion. In the Apoha theory, exclusion possessor theory, exclusion is non-existence and non-substance. Therefore, existent functions directly on its own meaning, that which exists, that which is not non-existent. What is included in that which exists, which is essentially that which is not non-existent, which is the word's own meaning. Therefore, existent includes or implies pot. This can be said within the weak denotation theory, which is based on a weak relation mediated by the exclusion of others, something that is essentially regarded as non-existent. In the weak relation through negative concomitants, existent does not exclude pot. Therefore, the weak denotation of pot by existent is established, so existent and pot, through doubt expectation, have the same referent. On the other hand, in the universal possessor theory, existence is real and becomes an intermediary, so existent denotes that which has existence by depending on existence. Therefore, due to other dependency, existent includes or implies that which exists, but does not include or imply pot. This is a criticism that applies to the strong denotation theory based on strong relation between real entities. In the strong relation through positive concomitants, existent is only positively related to that which exists and not directly related to pot. Therefore, pot is not definitely included implied without deviation. Consequently, the strong denotation of pot by existent is not established, so existent and pot do not have the same referent. Weak relation to non-exclusion. Non-substantiality direct function inclusion implication, weak denotation co-referentiality. Adravyatva skuddi 50 kepa abhidnas mundikaraya. Strong relation. Substantiality other dependency non-inclusion, non-implication absence of, strong denotation absence of co-referentiality. Dravyatva pratantria avipti ankipa anabhidna asantikaraya. Seen in this way, the expression illuminates diateity in the PSV that explains PS 5.1 it, word expresses its own meaning through other exclusion, like produceness, etc. Sartakat divats vertham enipohina barte, a word, illuminates that aspect X with which it has a relation of inseparability, like produceness, etc., through the exclusion of other meanings. Sabto, yenen vinvid vasabandas takat divad travayavakadina diateati, can also be interpreted, not just as a vocabulary choice to apply to both reason and word, as Jinendra Budi says, but as aptly describing the weak denotation whose essence is the non-exclusion of the word's own meaning that indirectly emerges through exclusion.